Genshin Impact was one of the biggest releases in recent years, and it's still going really strong. So it is without a surprise that others will try to replicate its success. Some are really shameless about it.
Legend of Neverland decided to use footage from other games, in this case Genshin Impact. That's why some part of the video looks a bit clunky and seems like their character can't really blend with the terrain.
Like seriously, who in their marketing department thought that stealing Barbara's voice line for their ads was a good idea?
Ta-da! Barbara's here!
There were others, Genshin-like games that were quite decent, most notably Tower of Fantasy. TOF had a massive launch. In fact, during that time, it was more popular than Genshin, and then it flopped. Okay, I am exaggerating. It just became like other gacha games, and by that I mean it has a niche player base that still enjoys the game, but that's about it. Now, I know even though Genshin and Tower Fantasy have a lot of similarities, to the point I would have been surprised if during the last year of development they decided to take some inspiration from Genshin. Anyway, these games targeted different audiences, which can't be said about these next games. These are just some of the upcoming Genshin clones, and to be honest with you, they look absolutely amazing. Project Mugen looks like an anime open world with a similar exploration to that of the recent Spider-Man. Unending Dawn and Weathering Waves have a bigger focus on fast-paced action gameplay in an overall darker environment, and Seven Deadly Sins Origin and Arc Knight's Enfield are from big names in the anime and gacha sphere, which in itself will generate a ton of hype. These are just some of the upcoming Genshin clones that I could find, and yeah, they are absolutely gorgeous looking both in gameplay and graphics. And at their core, they are an anime open world RPG game, a genre that Genshin popularized, and most importantly, a genre that Genshin created a demand for. Now, while Genshin and Tower Fantasy has some overlap in their player base, it was pretty minimal since Genshin is mostly a single player game, while TOF is more multiplayer focused. The same can't be said for these new upcoming games. They will try to take a piece of the cake from Genshin, and the question now becomes if they will be as successful as Genshin. No. What did you expect? If you think about it, Genshin's success was not just the result of the quality of the game, but it was also the outcome of its environment. When it was first released, we were just at the beginning of the COVID lockdown, so people got more time in their hands. On top of that, we were still in the middle of the open world genre boom. So this is not just because of the game. With that being said, then what will be of these games? Well, since from the looks of it, they are trying to compete more directly to Genshin, and they are different enough from each other, they will most likely make a ton of players choose which one fits more their tastes. And Hoyoverse will finally get some competition on a market that they have been monopolizing for years. Which brings me to the final point of this video. Competition is good. Too many people want their game to stand alone at the peak of their genre without realizing they are hurting their favorite game. Competition drives innovation, a quote that you probably heard before. And let's take a look at Genshin, shall we? Genshin in its entire lifespan have basically used the same formula since day one. Well, people really liked it, so where's the problem? You see, even if people liked it, that doesn't mean there were no complaints. But well, even if you wanted a certain aspect of the game to be different, where were you gonna go? Genshin created a demand for Genshin-like games, but it was the only one at the time. A big example of this is the endgame, which a portion of the player base complained since 1.0. But why should Hoyoverse care? They will still make the money even if these people left. But what if another game had better endgame, and another game had another aspect that's better, and so on and on? Then Hoyo will need to, instead of just expanding a good game with the same type of content of equal or higher quality, they will need to try and improve the game itself. And they know that. In fact, they even know what to do already. All we need to do is to look at what they did for Honkai Star Rail. Contrary to Genshin, which created its own market, Star Rail was trying to enter a somewhat saturated one. The strategic gacha games genre is big, like really big. And to be honest with you, the initial launch of the game got carried by two reasons. It was made by Hoyoverse, so of course it was getting a lot of attention. And the graphics of Star Rail were simply better than any other games in the genre. But these two things can't carry the game for its entire lifetime, and Hoyo 100% knows that. In fact, they are way more careful with the release of new content, especially endgame content, which these games usually are filled with. So let's see what they did. 1.0, there were two types of endgame content, Forgotten Hall and Simulated Universe. 1.2, Forgotten Hall update with Memory of Shenzhou plus Simulated Universe World 7. 1.3, Simulated Universe Swarm Disaster. 1.5, Simulated Universe World 8. 1.6, the next version, they are gonna introduce Pure Fiction, an endless mode which is completely new type of endgame content. Now let's look at Genshin. Yep, just Spiral Abyss. 3+ years later, still the same with zero changes. Look, Genshin will never die, even if these new games take away players. And it's already made enough money for Hoyo to keep it running till the end. So all I want to say is, if you truly like Genshin and want the best for it, you should give a try to these other games inspired by Genshin. And who knows, maybe you will like it more than Genshin itself. Worst case scenario, you go back to Genshin. Best case scenario, you found a new game that you really enjoy. So don't just look at this game with a critical eye just for the sake of putting Genshin on a pedestal. That shouldn't even exist. Otherwise, you are just holding it back from what it can truly be. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. And maybe consider giving this video a like, maybe subscribe. Me and Nahida will be really happy. I wanna give a quick channel update, I guess. So, I'm planning to post 2 videos a week, one on Monday and one on Friday. The Monday one is gonna be just me playing games, not necessarily just the Hoyo stuff. I am planning for next week to go take a look at Arknights again. I played it before for like 2 years. It was one of my favorite games for that period. And yeah, I simply got interested in the game again while doing research for this video. The new Arknight game looked really cool. As for Friday, I want to make a video where it's gonna be me talking mostly about Genshin stuff, so something more like this video, but I can guarantee you anything since I'm really new to YouTube and still trying to figure things out. Also, aside from Monday and Friday, every other day I may or may not post a Team Comp showcase. It depends if I find any Team Comp that I find interesting. And that's about it. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Consider liking and subscribing. And as always, have a nice day.